So today, AJ Miller was doing a seminar a long way away, and I went to go and see him. And I'm going to have to talk about it now because I'm probably going to forget what happened. So I just need to talk about it now. Got up really early. I'm really, really tired because it was about an hour and a half train. And then there was supposed to be a 20-minute cycle, but I had like an hour and 10 minutes to get there. So I had an hour and 10 minutes to do a 20-minute cycle. And I ended up being about an hour doing that cycle because I had to keep looking on my phone every 5 minutes, and then I ended up going down the wrong path, and then it said go around this sort of caravan park, and I went through it only to realise that I got trapped in. But anyway, I made it eventually. I had time to kill, so I had time to play with, so it was fine. But yeah, the seminar was very, the stuff that he was talking about, just about God's love. You have to have God's love, and you need to get through pain and feel. I have no clue what he was saying. I have absolutely no clue what he was saying. I was trying to listen. It sounded like he was just saying the same things over and over again, and he sounded almost like a robot because I couldn't understand like how he thought that this was helping anyone or teaching anyone anything, and the whole audience, I just felt like the whole audience was perhaps robots. Like I have you ever been in a simulation where you're watching something that's silly, and it felt like I was watching a silly film full of robots all watching the silly film because it didn't make any sense what he was saying, and I didn't agree with anything. Wasn't inverted, but I just didn't. I was just like, this is silly. This is you're worshipping something different. You're worshipping a false god, a god that's just love, and then anyway, I was just thinking about all the things that I could say to him and how it's going to play out. And there was one break, and I thought, and quite a lot of people left to eat a sandwich outside, so I thought this would be a good time to talk to him. I first of all asked him if I could have a talk with him in private, like at the end, or any time, and he said that he doesn't do that. Like very bluntly, we don't do that. No, we don't talk to people. That's a bit like, okay, that's a bit weird for me. You know, if you're preaching about how you're Christ, surely you would be open to, having conversations with people who want to discuss things. But anyway, I then started saying, can you tell me about the Illuminati? And he says, yes, he knows about the Illuminati, but they're not on his side. They're not going to help him. They don't like him. And I started saying, well, I think there is a group of people who know, and they do believe, and they are going to help you. And then he's just like, no, they're not. And I said, well, they are. And then he said again, you're not listening, like quite firm, like he didn't believe anything that I was saying, that he was only right, that his views were the only views that counted because he was Jesus. And then I kind of I don't know, I can't remember exactly all the things that I said, but I talked about the waiting period. Do you know when it's going to be, like in the ascension? I told him that I definitely believe, and that I had visions, and I seen you, and I believe that you were this Jesus that inspired the Bible. But and then I don't know, I think I was trying to ask him questions, but I didn't know what question to ask, and then I because I was confused because he didn't know anything about the Illuminati, and I was saying, are they funding it? I know there's a group of people who know, are they funding you? And he was just like, are you not listening to me? So if someone says that they're not involved in the Illuminati, that doesn't mean they're not involved in the Illuminati, because the whole point of the Illuminati is that they do things in secret, hence they will tell people not to tell others. So I needed him to get angry enough about this question because I needed to know if the Illuminati were actually working with him, or because I don't know. I've seen his seminars, they all seem like bullshit to me, but at the same time I've been promoting myself as Christ, and if they deliberately know about me and have been raising up some sort of false Christ, or if there's some people that have been giving him some funding to help promote his bullshit, because there's going to be like a time where people would have to choose between me and him. The thing is, though, his beliefs are so crazy. His beliefs are so crazy that I don't think it's going to be much of a challenge. If you believe his views over mine, then I just think you're a dummy, like a dumb robot. He doesn't say anything intelligent. There's nothing insightful. The rest of it was about, the second half was about soul and healing your soul and getting it to become harmonized with your mind and going through pain to try and heal the trauma in the soul, and just getting the soul into a healthy state. But you don't know what a soul is. A soul is just an algorithm that forms your consciousness. You can't heal your soul. You have to heal your mind. You have to heal your mind, and the soul is just like a sort of memory. It's like an algorithm of memory that forms your consciousness, and your consciousness is different to someone else's consciousness because of this different type of algorithm that forms your soul. But you can't heal the soul. The soul is just there. It's just you. It's you know. He was having this 4-hour conversation throughout this whole thing. Half of it was about God's love and the importance of God's love and opening up your heart and letting love flow through you, or whatever. I don't know what he was talking about, but I didn't agree with anything. Any statement that he made, I was just like, yeah, I don't believe that, and no, I don't believe that, and no, I think that's silly, and yeah, so I don't know, but I was speaking to him about, what other questions did I ask? Like when I asked him that if there was, I know you don't believe, but if there was an Illuminati group who were going to help you and going to like promote you, say there's 144,000 people about to just promote you, what would you say? Because that's what I want to do. I want to have a plan where I get my army, people who believe that I'm Christ, to not promote me, because I want to heal. I'm not very well right now because of the you've been ignoring me for 12 years. So I need a time where I'm just I get some interviews. You know, I want to talk to people. Unlike AJ Miller, I'm not like that. I want to talk to people. I want to know their opinions. I want to know their views. I want to be challenged. I want to express my intelligence through, tell me why I'm not God, and I'll prove to you that what you said has actually just proved that I am God because of whatever you said. You know, I'm very intelligent, and if you insult me, I feel like you're actually just insulting yourself. And I can work around this, and I want it to be filmed. You know, I want people rejecting me, and I want to show how much people just don't care about me, and the stupid things that they say to try and justify. And you know, I think Mary was very connected. Mary's very connected because she said very little throughout the whole thing, but the one thing she did say was she was talking about how sometimes we reject God because we are scared of the truth. And I don't know what she said, but there was a little bit that she said. I can't remember what it was. But I was like, yeah, I agree with that. And I was thinking about how he reacted to me in the questions that I asked, and I felt like he was scared of the possibility that I was right. You know, I told him if there was lots of people about to help you and promote you, you know, if I could get like £1 million to help promote you, and his answer was, I'm not ready. My soul, I need a lot of healing to do before I can rise. And I know he does. You know, his teachings is false. His teachings is wrong. He was, I believe he was AJ Miller, but he was just a guy who preached that he was special. That's all he was. He was just a guy who preached that he was special. He was like a little robot, and he got a bunch of other robots to follow him and admire him, and he liked that attention. I believe that he died and he came back as an Anglo-Saxon king, and in this life, he had a very different life. I don't think it was more about religion, but I think he liked the whole I'm king and this is my land and this is my views. But I think he had a very soft, because I was trying to get visions of that, and just see if I can get other visions of his past life to try and work out why he is the way that he is. And I definitely felt a lot of evil. I felt that there was something very evil in him, and this, one of the first things that he said to me was that he doesn't want to rise because he thinks that there's something inside of him that he needs to work through, and I think there is too, but I think this thing that he needs to work through is this constant need to want to put himself first, his views first, his opinions first, and I got a vision of just Anglo-Saxon king that was very much like, what, you're over, like, he'd be very passive and very calm, but as soon as there was someone that was going to challenge him, or as soon as there was someone was telling you wrong, he was like, no, I'm king, and then suddenly snap into this second character that's very, very dark, and and very cold. And I think if AJ Miller has problems and issues that he needs to work through, it's just a slight, it's like an evilness. There's a dark evilness inside of him, and he doesn't want people to see, but he likes the sort of the attention, but not too much. He doesn't want too much. If I was to give him million pounds to promote himself, I don't think he would do it. I don't think he'd do it because I don't think he actually wants fame. I think he just wants a small bubble of people, a small bubble of robot people that don't have much intelligence, who look up to him as being intelligent, when really nothing he says is very intelligent. And I just feel like that's all he wants. What he is doing is what he actually wants. And the fact that I said, that there is an Illuminati that are going to help, and he was just so dismissive, so like, no, that they don't want to help me, no, that, I feel like he's right. I wouldn't want to help this guy. If I was a multi-millionaire and I was going to, do something, I wouldn't want to work with AJ Miller, because he just seems very me. My views, my opinions, my beliefs, this is my seminar. I set this up. I did all this, and you didn't. So therefore, you don't get the right to say your views. And I'm not interested in your views. I'm here to say my views. And he was very much like that. And I can imagine that the Illuminati not liking people like that. The Illuminati people are people who are smart, people who like to share views, like to express things, like to talk, like to communicate, like to share knowledge. And AJ Miller's ceremonies are not about sharing knowledge. It's about sharing just things that you can't prove, things that I don't think are true, or telling people about God, but just giving a very God is love. God is love, and you can only hire yourself and get a better connection to love through loving God. By loving God, you can love yourself, and you can learn to love others more. And you're saying things like this, but it's just like, but you don't know who God is. How can you love something that you don't know? You have to love, a person, a character. A God is a real entity, a soul, and he was very much adamant that's not the truth. I didn't actually say that in when we were talking, but in his whole discussion with the audience, it was very clear that he didn't believe that God could be a human, or God was above humans, above understanding. And then the last thing that I said to him was, I had visions of my past life, and I'd gone through a similar thing to what you did. And he was just like, no, you did not have a past life. You have not had a past life. I'm the only one that's had a past life. So because I thought he believed in reincarnation and incarnation, but it turns out he does believe in it, but he believes only him and 14 other people. And I think that was when I really saw a darkness. He really said it in a very kind of rude way. No, you did not. You've been deceived by, you've got lying spirits in you, and you've been deceived. But he said it very, very harshly. That I had lying, deceiving spirits inside of me that are telling me that I had a past life when really I didn't. And he was very certain that I have never had a past life. And I felt like he was almost insulted at the fact that I was saying that I was just like him. He's had a past life. I've had a past life. What? You've had a past life? You have not had a past life. You are being deceived. You are being lied to. No, he was very, very cold. Very, very cold. And I just feel like whatever he was saying to me about there being a deceiving spirit lying to me, it just made me feel like, actually, no, the deceiving spirit that's lying to you is my spirit, and it's lying to you, and you're telling me what's happening to you and not what's happening to me. You're telling me what's happening, what you think is happening to me, but really it's just happening to yourself. And so yeah, I think he is being lied to and deceived by a spirit that does not like him, but is tricking him into thinking that okay, he has had a past life, but I think he thinks that he's doing all this preaching to help him, and I don't think it is. I think he's got a bad future. I want to promote him as being the real AJ Miller, and I would have wanted to work with him. I had visions of how nice it would be to just invite him, go to Australia, have like a nice hotel, invite him to sit by a swimming pool, and I think this is what I've done before. I believe I've done 70 timelines, and I think that's usually how I'm sure I usually work with the AJ Millers of the in the timeline that I create. I always have a Jesus character that represents a sort of me, but not me. But yeah, I'm sure they're usually nicer. I'm sure they're usually friendlier. I'm sure they're usually more open-minded. I'm sure they're usually more, I usually feel sorry for them because of, the abuse that other people give. I was trying to tell him. I said to him, I understand that you probably get a lot of people, insulting you, and I'm not here to do that. And I, I believe, and I said some compliments as well, like, if you want to serve God, you need to listen to the Spirit and try and want to serve God, and by doing that, the Spirit will act through you. But yeah, I just felt like there was a very hard, coldness inside of him, and I think if the Spirit is acting in him, I don't think it cares about his favor. I don't think it cares about him, because I think he just loves being a center of attention, but not too much. So I don't think he wants to be famous, but I don't care. I don't care what he wants. That's how I feel. Like, I want to have 1,400 people just overnight promote him and say, yeah, I believe he's AJ. I believe that he's Jesus. I would have wanted to work with him. I think on other timelines that I've done, I've always worked with the Jesus, the Antichrist, and said, hey, I'm Eve, and but this guy did not want to know. I didn't tell him that I was Eve. I didn't tell him that I was God. I didn't tell him anything. I told him that I had visions of a past life, and he basically responded by saying that's completely impossible because you've never had a past life, and you're being lied to. You're being lied to at the moment by spirits, and you've got spirits, evil spirits around you that are telling you wrong things. That's literally what he said to me. And I've heard that he says this to people. I've heard, I've heard people complain about him, and people saying that he says things like this and stuff, and I guess I didn't think he would say it to me. I thought there would be something inside of him that would make him think that this is, you're talking to God right now, and no, there's no deceiving spirits inside of me, but there is inside you. I thought that he would have enough connection with me to want to know, but part of me was also thinking, like, the spirit inside of me was also thinking that I've just listened to him talk an hour about God's love and the importance of God's love and opening up to God's love and becoming like God and loving like God and just, I don't know, love. That's basically all I heard. Just a whole hour of just, I don't know how many times he said the word love and God's love particularly. He doesn't know me. He does not know me, and I didn't feel like he was even talking about me. I felt like he was just talking about just gobbledygooch, and it's just amazing how anyone could sit through that and just listen, be like, wow, that's interesting. God's love, oh, God's love, oh, God's love, oh, God's. I just feel like the audience must have been some sort of robot, in some sort of robotic mode, and I don't know. But it occurred to me that if he doesn't want to know anything about me, if he doesn't want me, if I start telling him that I'm Eve and I've got beliefs, and if I start giving him any information, he's only going to end up questioning his beliefs, and I don't know why he's preaching such nonsense. I do not know why he's I'm sure that there's so many things a Jesus, if I was to create a Jesus Antichrist, anti-bullying, health, how to make a cake, how to have a good life, how to be confident, how to look good, how to, I don't like Andrew Tate very much, but there are some things that he says that is correct. If you want to get a job, and you have to trust someone with someone's money, you don't want to give your money over to some big ugly fat dude who can't control his eating habits. If you can't control his eating habits, then how can he look after your money? If you can't control his health, how can you, he was saying things like that, and I don't agree with a lot of things that he says, but he does say some intelligent things sometimes, and there's so many intelligent things that you can teach someone, and just nothing he said I agreed with, or nothing was intelligent, and it's just, yeah, if I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I know that I probably shouldn't tell him anything about me. I shouldn't tell him that I'm Eve. I shouldn't tell, because I think he wants nothing to do with me, and I think he just wants to promote whatever he wants to promote, and he can still be used as this role. I want to give him fame. He doesn't want fame because he knows that he's going to get a bombardment of attacks. I would have been willing to say, hey, put him in a safe house or something, but after meeting him and finding out what he's really like, I feel like I just care so so little. I care so little about him because I just feel like he's just leading people astray with total nonsense, and I feel like he's a robot almost. Like if he does get attacked, I don't care. You know, if 144,000 people start promoting him as being like the real Jesus of Nazareth, and saying that the Bible was just created from him, you know, and then, but if I like never help him, never give him a penny, never give him anything, and just literally just get him famous, but give him no money whatsoever, or no help, or no support, you know, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think that's what I would want to do. This world has given me no money, no support, and I haven't had no fame either. I think it would be worse to have fame and no money, no support, no help, and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, would it be worse to have, to have fame, lots and lots of fame, have, hundreds of thousands of celebrity, or 100,000 celebrities say that, yeah, we believe that this is the Jesus of Nazareth, but to not actually give him anything else, just give him fame, and that's it. And I don't think he'll want that. I really don't think he'll want that, and I don't think he'll support that, and I don't care. I really don't care. I don't feel like I care enough to even want to give him any information, because he didn't want any information from me. I went there to show him support. I went there to ask questions. I went there to tell him who I was, and he didn't want to know who I was. He didn't care who I was. He just wanted, it was his time to shine, and that was how he saw it. So yeah, I don't know, because I can't do anything without money, and he was the Jesus that started the Bible, but the Jesus that started the Bible was just a guy who thought he was special. That's all he was, and then people came along and turned him into something completely different. I am disappointed though, because I thought he would be better than what he is. I thought he would be a bit more intelligent. I thought he'd be a bit more open-minded. I thought he'd be a bit more spiritually connected, and he wasn't. I think his wife was. I got a picture of my hair was a mess throughout the whole of it. I don't know what had going on, but throughout the whole of it, like all the little bits of my hair were just sticking up, and I felt like I just had like a big bob. So I spent the whole time trying to brush my hair with my hands, because I didn't bring a hairbrush, and I don't know, I looked a total mess. And I have a picture of us together, but I look really ugly in it, and I was just like, oh my gosh. But anyway, why impress people around you if you don't like the people around you? Anyway, I managed to get a picture of me and him and Mary at the end, and I know that there was a lot of hesitation on Mary's part, and I felt like she didn't want to. And when I was trying to like read into her soul and trying to work out like why didn't she want to, I felt like this is a prophecy that I'm going to make. I think AJ Miller is going to start going mad. I think he's going to start losing his mind, and I think Mary is going to know that that this is happening. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think he's going to end up going mad, and I think Mary is going to be very sad, and therefore I don't think, even though Mary does like him, and I think she's going to be kind of upset with me for doing what I think I'm going to do, which is to give him a ton of fame, but not help him or talk to him or anything in any way. I think that's what I want. Maybe that the Illuminati have attempted to contact him and then found that he, in the same way, just brushed them off, thought he was better, and thought his views are more right. You can't argue, you can't negotiate. It's just I'm right and you're wrong. And I think he developed that from a sort of Anglo-Saxon type king kind of life that I think he had. But yeah, he wasn't a nice person. Definitely wasn't a nice person in that life, and I don't think he's changed. A lot of people might have not been very very nice people in the past, but I think they've had more and more lives, and they've got better, and I don't think this guy has. I really don't think this guy is a nice person.